Hi guys. In our last lesson we talked about real numbers and we defined what real numbers are. And in this lesson we're going to start doing some operations with real numbers. So this first lesson is about adding real numbers. This is 8.3. So in addition, when we're adding numbers, if I can get this screen to scroll down. Addition means to collect like terms. Therefore, you can only add a positive number to a positive number and a negative number to a negative number. So the rule is if the signs are the same, then we add the numbers and we always use the sign of the larger number. Okay, so in this first example, we have 4 plus 2. All right, so let's start out by looking at the number line because sometimes it helps to visualize what's going on. Okay, so we're always going to start at 0. So if we start at 0 and we have a positive 4 is going to go in the right direction, 2, 3, 4. And then we're going to add 2, a positive 2. 1, 2. So our answer is 6. Now let's just look at the numbers and apply the rule. If the signs are the same, add the numbers and use the sign of the larger number. 4 plus 2 is positive 6. Okay, so now let's look at the next example. We have negative 4 plus negative 2. Okay, again, we're going to start at 0 and we're going to go negative 4, which means we're going to go to the left. 1, 2, 3, 4. And then a negative 2, that means we're going to go to the left 2 more spaces, and we end up at negative 6. Now let's look at the numbers again and apply the rules. If the signs are the same, which they are, they're both negative, then we add the numbers. 4 plus 2 is 6, and we use the sign of the bigger number. So it's a negative 6 for our answer. Now, if you're asked to add 9 plus negative 4, you can't do this because one number is positive and the other number is negative. So if the signs are different, we subtract the numbers. And again, we use the sign of the larger number. So let's look at this visually again on the number line. We start at 0 and we have a positive 4. That means we're going to go to the right 1, 2, 3, 4 spaces. And then we have a negative 2, which means we're going to have to go back to the left 1, 2 spaces, and we end up at a positive 2. All right, so now if we apply those rules, if the signs are different, which they are, we have a positive and a negative, then we subtract the numbers. 4 minus 2 is 2, and we use the sign of the larger number. Since my larger number is positive, my answer is positive. Okay, here we have negative 4 plus 2. Are the signs the same or different? They're different. Okay, so, well, let's look at it visually first. So we start at 0, negative 4, we're going to go to the right or to the left? Since it's negative, we're going to go to the left 1, 2, 3, 4 spaces. And then positive 2, so that means we're going to go back to the right 1, 2 spaces. And this is my answer. Now, if we apply the rules, like I said, the signs are different, so that means we're going to be subtracting. We have a 4 and we have a 2. If I subtract 2 from 4, I get 2, but we use the sign of the bigger number, so my answer is negative. So this was similar to the one before it. We got 2 for our answer, but the bigger number was positive here, so my answer was positive. The bigger number is negative in D, so my answer is negative. Okay, so let's summarize the rules. If the signs are the same, so if we have the same sign, actually let me do it with the symbols. Okay, so if our signs are both plus, positive and positive, then we're going to add, and the sign of my answer is going to be positive. If my signs are both negative, they're the same, so we're still going to add, but this time the sign of my answer is going to be negative. But if I have one positive and one negative, then we know we're going to subtract. And we don't know which one's bigger, so we just have to say we use the sign of the larger number. And that's what we're doing every time. We're always using the sign of the larger number, because if they're both positive, we know the bigger one's positive. If they're both negative, we know the bigger one's negative. It's just when they're different that we don't know which one is bigger. Okay, so let's apply these rules to these examples. Okay, 6 plus 4. The signs are the same, so we just add, and we would get 10. The sign is going to stay positive because my bigger number is positive. Number 2, negative 6 plus negative 4. The signs are the same, so we're going to add, but this time my bigger number is negative, so it's going to be negative 10. All right, number 3, negative 6 plus 4. That's a positive 4 and a negative 6. My signs are different, so this time I'm going to subtract. So if I subtract 4 from 6, I get 2. Should it be positive or negative? Since the sign of my bigger number is negative, my answer is also negative. All right, and number 4. I have a positive 6 and a negative 4. My signs are different, so I'm going to subtract. If I take away 4 from 6, I get 2. Should it be positive or negative? My bigger number is positive, so my answer is also positive. Okay, in number 5, we have 3 terms. So we can just go from left to right, or we can combine the like terms first. I'll do it both ways. If I go from left to right, negative 9 and positive 2, my signs are different, so I'm going to subtract, and that gives me 7, but it needs to be negative because my bigger number is negative. Okay, then I'm just going to bring down the plus negative 3. Now my signs are the same, so I'm going to add. The bigger number is negative, so my answer is negative. Now, let me do it where I combine my like terms first. Okay, so I have negative 9. Let me write it all out again. So if I combine these like terms first, I know I'm going to add, and that would give me a negative 12. And I bring down the plus 2. Negative 12 plus 2, this time the signs are different, so I'm going to subtract. And I get a 10, and it will be negative because my bigger number is negative. So it doesn't matter what you do. You can either go from left to right or combine your like signs first. Okay, so for number 6, I like combining the like signs first. So let's do that. If I take all of my positive numbers, I know I'm going to add them together because they all have the same sign. 5 plus 4 is 9. 9 plus 8 is 17. Okay, then if I add all my negative terms together, negative 1 and negative 3, that's negative 4. Negative 4 and negative 6 is negative 10. Now we can either write it like that, or we could say plus a negative 10. Either way, we're going to be subtracting because the signs are different. 17 minus 10 is 7. My answer is positive because my biggest number is positive. Okay, in number 7, we have some decimals, and one's positive and one's negative, so that means that I'm going to be subtracting. Now when I subtract decimals, I need to line up my decimals. So I'm just going to rewrite that 9 and 25 hundredths underneath this negative 11 and 40 hundredths. Okay, so since my signs are different, I'm going to be subtracting. So I'm going to subtract. I need to borrow. That gives me a 10, and that's 3. Let me draw a line here so we can. Okay. Let's see. So 10 minus 5 is 5. 3 minus 2 is 1. And then 11 minus 9 is 2. Should it be positive or negative? My bigger number is negative, so my answer is also negative. Number 8 is written out in words. It says find the sum of negative 15, 18, and negative 3. What does the word sum mean? Sum means add. So I'm just going to add these terms together. Okay, and again, we can either combine our like terms first or go from left to right. This time I'll go from left to right. Okay, so if I do negative 15 plus 18, the signs are different, so I'm going to subtract, and I get a positive 3. Positive 3 plus negative 3 would be 0. All right, for number 9, we have fractions. And if we are adding or subtracting fractions, we have to have what? A common denominator. Do we have a common denominator in number 9? Yes, we do. So, once we get a common denominator, when we're adding or subtracting fractions, our denominator is going to stay the same. So my denominator for my answer is going to be 2. Now, my first fraction is negative and my second fraction is negative, so that means I'm going to be adding. And I'm going to use the sign of the bigger fraction, so I know, since they're both negative, I know my answer is going to be negative. And then I just add the numerators. 1 plus 3 is 4. And anytime we have a fraction that can be reduced, we need to reduce it. So a negative 4 over 2 is the same as negative 2 or 2 over 1. So that would be my answer. Okay, then number 10. Do we have a common denominator? No, we don't. So we need to get a least common denominator. So what would the least common denominator be between 3 and 2? It would be 6. All right, so then I ask myself, what do I need to multiply 3 by to get 6? It would be 2. And when I'm dealing with fractions, I can't just do something to one part of the fraction. I have to do it to both parts. So I need to multiply both the top and the bottom by 2. So 2 times 1 is 2. 2 times 3 is 6, and it's a negative. Okay, so what do I multiply 2 by to get 6? It would be 3. So I need to do the same thing to both parts. And I get 3 times 3 is 9. 2 times 3 is 6. So now that I have a common denominator, that is my denominator in my answer. This is a negative 2 and a positive 9, so I'm going to be subtracting. So if I take away 2 from 9, I get 7, and it should be positive because the bigger number is positive. This cannot be reduced, so this is my answer. It could be changed to a mixed number, but when you're doing problems in my math lab, they usually prefer that it stays an improper fraction as long as it's reduced.